Okay, so now we're going to go over importing a mission into GeoTracker Classic, GeoTracker 4. So I'm going to put in my micro SD card first, or sorry, my regular SD card first for my monitor 4S, and it comes up as drive letter F. Very good. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open up GeoTracker. And right now I'm doing a mission for Osceola County here. So you notice how I came up with the F drive, as you see here. What I need to make sure is under Preferences and Flash Card Drive Settings, the SD card is set to F. It probably will be by default, as it was here, but if you're having problems importing missions, that's the first place to check out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Mission, and then we're going to go to Import Monitor 4S. And it should bring in this information here. You can see that it's a little bring up here. Sometimes you get this not responding. That just is an indication that the mission's pretty large, but that can happen. Let's see here. Would you like to remove the mission from the SD card? Pretty much almost every time the answer will be yes. The only time it would ever be no is if you're actually on a phone call with one of us service engineers, service techs, and we're trying to troubleshoot something specific. In all other instances, simply click yes. If you don't click yes and you do click no, the data is going to remain on the card, and then you're going to get duplicate mission data later on, which you don't want. So again, press yes. Once you press yes, you'll also note that on that micro SD card that all the information here has been cleared out, just like it said it was going to do. So alright, what do we got here? Well, this was done with truck number 60, we can tell that here, and the first mission that was done, of the mission, the first trip that was done was started on May 11th, 2020 at 7, because this is military time, 7:57 p.m. and 19 seconds deep. So we got two trips here. We can turn individual trips on and off. Looks like we had a secondary trip there. I don't know what that was all about. But there we go. You can uncheck and check these off if you so desire. Now what do we got here? Well, we can do a few things. Firstly, we can take a look at any indications on the map. So what I do for that is we'll check off the run box and then grab the hand tool and then click anywhere on the map, because right now you see the boundary right here isn't highlighted. Oops. When we click on it, you can see how I can now drag stuff around, making this the active window. So what's that mean? Well, what we can do now is if I click on the keyboard, the letter A, it begins to animate. And you'll see right here, we're starting at trip 1. Here's our little clock. Here's information coming from the GPS. I can also right-click into areas and get it to move somewhere. So let me hit S for stop animation. Notice that the clock and everything stops moving. And I'm going to put myself right here. So I right-clicked on that location. And now if I hit A for animate again, it'll show my movement. Now we're zoomed out pretty far, so let's zoom in on this mission a bit. So I'm going to hit S again to stop it. And then I'm going to use the zoom in tool here to see what's going on. Under maps, I'm going to click on show info so I can see some street names. Although it looks like I got some this stuff going over top of it, but it still gives me an idea of what I'm looking at here. And if I grab the hand tool again and press A for animate, we can see our animation going on here. So right here we're seeing us drive. Right now we're moving at about 18 miles an hour and spraying at around, looks like 3-ish ounces per minute. Got a good GPS signal, and we're even seeing 16 GPS satellites, so that's pretty good reception. So if I hit S, again, it'll stop. Other key combinations that we can use here, if you hit F as in Frank, this will go forward a frame. So you can just tap, 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 tap. If you hit the B as in Baker, that'll take you backwards a frame. So you can keep tapping back, 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 back to hone in on areas. And that's pretty much how you can check out what's going on with some of these. If you zoom in enough, you can get a little bit more fine granular detail. Like right here, we'll zoom in pretty heavy. So right here, I can see that we were not spraying when we came down. So if I go forward a frame, not spraying, not spraying, not spraying, not spraying, not spraying, and now I am spraying. You'll notice that you have different colors here. You'll have your red and your green, which were set up in your trucks. So if I were to go into trucks edit, and take a look at truck 60, I'll see that, yeah, that was my color combination. But one thing that comes up is, what's the orange? The orange is the actual spray trail. It's basically connecting the dots of the spray on breadcrumbs. So that's that. Now, what's another thing we can do? Well, another thing we can do, let me zoom out to extents here. One thing we can do is we can take a look at the report. So if I click on report, let's turn Word off, we get a text report indicating the mission. As we noticed, we had 2 trips right here. The first trip was sprayed by the person, and then the second trip looks like someone just turned the truck on and off, probably to test something, not sure. But so they sprayed on May 11th, as we determined. We can see that they traveled a total of 64 miles. They sprayed a total of 27.3 miles using the EPA accepted value of a 300-foot swath. I know that's a controversial number, but that's what the EPA uses for their labels. That many miles with a 300-foot swath equates to 992.5 acres. How much chemical did they spray? Well, they sprayed about a little over 300 ounces. Using an application rate of 0.3 ounces per acre. The average spray speed that this guy was spraying at was 13.9 miles. He started at this time, that's just starting the truck, not starting spraying, starting up the monitor itself. He sprayed for a grand total of 1 hour and 57 minutes in this trip, and his monitor was shut down at looks like 11:49 p.m. The maximum speed that he drove, not in spray mode, but in non-spray mode, would be 55.7 miles an hour. So that's, he probably got on a highway somewhere, that makes sense. And the highest flow rate that he was spraying was at 17 ounces per minute. Now, if a spray jumps really quick and then corrects for itself, that value will be thrown off in here. But what's really going to matter is the application rate. So for application rate, we have 0.32 ounces per acre, which is pretty close to the 0.3 that we're trying to target, which means the FMI pump was doing pretty good. We're only getting a deviation of no more than 0.02 of an ounce an acre. That's pretty good. And then down here we get a totals report. If the second trip consisted of any extra data, it would also be totaling that up down here. Obviously, we have miles, or I should say we have standard SAE, and then we have metric here as well for those who are metric users. But that gives us that report. Now, other things that we can do in here, well, one thing that we can do is if we go to File and we go to Export to KML, we can actually export this mission to our desktop, and then we will get a KML file for Google Earth. So Google Earth export for current mission completed successfully. Awesome. So if I were to open this up in Google Earth, we should get that mission. And what's nice about this is once you're in Google Earth, you can actually use a lot of the Google Earth tools for measuring and for determining locations. So you can do things like Canoe, Creek Road. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, basically you can pin down addresses. So you can go Neptune Road, Kissimmee. Say that was the address of the person. And so if a person were to call up saying, hey, you sprayed here last night when I didn't want you to, assuming that was the address, then you could actually take this map image right here and save it as a screenshot, or you can also go over here to File, Save, image and save the image and then email it to the customer saying, look, here's a GPS satellite image of our spray route last night. Here's your house. Here's where we sprayed. We were nowhere near you, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing you can do. I'm going to X out of this and discard. So that's one thing you can do in GeoTracker. Another thing you can do is that same report that we showed you earlier, we can also bring that report up as an HTML file. So if I go to File, and I go to Build HTML Mission Report, we can save this to the desktop as well, and we'll take a look at that report. It'll come up in your default browser, or whatever browser you want to set it to. In this case, I'm going to open it up in Chrome. And here we go. So it's the same report that we saw before, but it looks a lot nicer and it prints out a lot better. Lastly, closing out of a mission. Once you're in a mission, if you click on the close right here, it will close out of it. However, if you need to open the mission back up at some later time to review it, if you go to Missions and you go to Open, you'll get a list of all your missions that you've imported. What I'll do right here is, here's that one that we just imported here from Truck 60 on the 11th. So if I go there, it brings it back up, and I can get back into the reports and do from there. So anyways, that's how you import a mission, review it, and get your report data, as well as exporting to KML and to an HTML report. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. If you do have any other questions, please contact the ADAPCO service team at 855-782-3378. Thanks.